In this reflective spiritual narrative, a voice speaks to the heart, reminding the listener that innocence and truth deserve care and protection, even in moments clouded by confusion and uncertainty. It speaks of a life that is precious beyond measure, a child whose presence calls for tenderness, responsibility, and clarity rather than fear or secrecy. The message encourages the listener not to turn away from difficult emotions or fragmented stories, but to stay open to understanding what is real beneath them. It suggests that even when situations feel heavy or unclear, patience and honesty have a way of bringing light back into focus. There is an invitation here to release assumptions and to step away from narratives shaped by anxiety or misunderstanding, and instead to look for what is grounded, humane, and life-affirming. The tone is not one of accusation, but of reassurance that truth, when approached with calm awareness, can lead to healing rather than division. It emphasizes that every vulnerable life deserves protection, care, and thoughtful attention, and that clarity often arrives gradually, not all at once. In that unfolding, people may begin to recognize what matters most: compassion, responsibility, and the willingness to face reality without distortion. The message closes with a reminder that growth often comes through patience, that understanding deepens when fear is set aside, and that even the most complicated circumstances can move toward resolution when approached with honesty, empathy, and steady courage. Ultimately, it invites a gentler way of seeing, where truth is not a weapon but a bridge toward understanding, accountability, and peace for everyone involved. You can feel it, can't you? The tension in their steps, the hesitation in their words, the desperate attempts to control what is beyond them. And yet, the innocence of this child cannot be silenced. No power on earth, no whisper of deception, no denial can erase what I have ordained. This baby's life is a testament to my promise that the pure will always rise, that truth will always find its voice, that light will pierce even the darkest attempts at concealment. I see your heart, my child, and I know you ache for the truth. You may feel frustration, confusion, or even helplessness, but I assure you, every moment of waiting, every tear shed in uncertainty, is preparing you to receive the revelation fully, to stand in the light of understanding without fear. The truth about this baby is not just a matter of circumstance. It is a divine alignment, a confirmation of my protection, a miracle in motion. The very breath of this child carries my presence, my watchful care, and my unending love. Do not allow doubt to cloud your vision, my child. The forces of deception are strong, but they cannot stand against the power of divine revelation. Already, signs are appearing. Already, moments of clarity are reaching your mind and spirit, preparing you to recognize the truth when it is unveiled. You may notice coincidences, unexpected messages, sudden feelings, or glimpses of understanding that seem to come from nowhere. These are my whispers, guiding you, confirming that what has been hidden cannot remain hidden any longer. This is not a story of punishment, but of awakening. It is not a tale of despair, but a movement toward justice and protection. The baby whose life was sought to be hidden, whose innocence was threatened by secrecy, is now at the center of a divine plan that no human interference can alter. I, God, have placed angels, guardians, and unseen forces to shield, to guide, and to ensure that truth prevails. And now, the moment has come to open your eyes, to see beyond the surface, to understand the depth of what has been protected and the intensity of what must be revealed. I am preparing you, my child, because the journey ahead is not simple. The revelations will bring shock, they may bring sorrow, they will demand courage, but they will also bring clarity, healing, and a deep recognition of my presence in every hidden corner of life. The baby you will soon learn about is not just a child. This life is a symbol of hope, a beacon of resilience, and a reminder that no darkness, no matter how carefully constructed, can outshine my light. So listen closely, my child. Pay attention to every sign, every intuition, every moment of sudden understanding that seems to pierce the veil of secrecy. You are being prepared to witness the unfolding of truth, to see the beauty of protection, to understand that even when humans fail, I do not. The baby's life has been a miracle from the start, and though attempts were made to hide it, those attempts have only made the eventual revelation stronger, more undeniable, more filled with the recognition of my love and my justice. Take a deep breath, my child, and open your heart fully. The truth is coming, and it will not be stopped. Prepare to feel the weight of secrecy lifted, to see the innocence protected, to recognize the divine orchestration in every detail of this child's life. And as you watch, as you feel, as you awaken to the reality of what has been hidden, remember this: I am with you. I am with the child. I am the hand that guides, the voice that protects, and the light that exposes every hidden thing. The moment has come. The truth will be revealed. A truth that has been hidden for far too long is slowly making its way into the open, and the weight of that revelation is beginning to shift everyone involved. What was once buried beneath silence, fear, and confusion can no longer remain hidden forever. For a long time, people convinced themselves that avoiding the truth would protect relationships, preserve appearances, or prevent pain from spreading further. They wrapped difficult realities in secrecy, hoping time would keep everything buried beneath the surface. But silence has a way of growing heavier with every passing day. The more truth is avoided, the more tension quietly builds beneath every conversation, every forced smile, and every unanswered question. Deep down, those carrying the secret began to feel the emotional cost of what they were hiding. Fear replaced peace, and anxiety slowly took the place of certainty. What they failed to understand is that honesty cannot remain buried forever without consequences. Truth has a natural way of resurfacing, especially when innocent lives and genuine emotions are involved. No matter how carefully stories were altered or details avoided, reality continued to exist beneath it all, waiting for the right moment to emerge. You are now standing at the edge of that moment, not to carry hatred or judgment, but to witness things with clarity, compassion, and strength. Sometimes life places people in situations where understanding becomes more important than reacting. This revelation is not arriving to destroy everything. It is arriving to end confusion, bring hidden emotions into the open, and create space for healing where secrecy once lived. What has been hidden in darkness is beginning to step into light, and nothing built on fear can continue forever once truth finally speaks for itself. For the spirit knows what it has done, and guilt cannot stay buried forever. There were nights when they sat alone, whispering to themselves that what they did was right, and yet their souls trembled, because the innocent cries of that baby echoed through the spiritual realm, reaching my throne. I heard those cries, my child. I heard them before the world did. The pain of innocence is something I never ignore. Every tear that falls unjustly, every secret that tries to suffocate purity, calls out to me like thunder in the heavens. And so, I began to move quietly, not through anger, but through divine justice. I began to sense signs. One person's heart began to feel uneasy. Another started having dreams they could not explain. Situations began aligning, small coincidences that seemed random but were not. It was me. It was always me, gently shaking the ground beneath their lies, loosening the soil around the buried truth, preparing the moment when it would break free. The baby, small and unaware of the chaos surrounding its existence, carried a light that even darkness feared. For I had placed my breath within this child. Each smile carried divine energy. Each heartbeat whispered destiny. No matter how much they tried to hide the truth, this light shone through. It touched those who came near, stirred emotions in those who crossed paths, and awakened compassion in hearts that didn't even know why they cared so deeply. That, my child, is how I work, silently, powerfully, through love that cannot be contained. You must understand, the battle was not merely of flesh and words, it was spiritual. The enemy wanted to silence the birth of something sacred, to twist the story before it even began. But I, the Lord, had already written a different ending. For every lie they spoke, I planted a truth that would grow stronger. For every attempt to hide, I sent someone curious, someone bold enough to question. And now, the walls of deceit are trembling. The people who once walked in arrogance are beginning to fear their own reflections, for the truth they hid is now chasing them, step by step, breath by breath. Sometimes, my child, I allow deceit to last just long enough for hearts to reveal themselves. For the moment of exposure is not just about truth being told. It is about showing the world who chose love, who chose fear, who stood silent, and who stood brave. Every heart involved is being tested, every soul being weighed in the balance. But I assure you, the innocent will not suffer forever. The truth about this baby will come out, and when it does, healing will follow. Even now, behind the scenes, hearts are being stirred. Someone who once stayed silent will soon speak. Someone burdened by guilt will confess. Someone who once helped hide the truth will no longer find peace in the darkness. My spirit is moving among them like a whisper that cannot be silenced, like wind that breaks through locked doors. And when my timing aligns, the truth will stand before all, radiant and undeniable. You might not see everything yet, but feel it, my child. Feel the shift in the air, the uneasiness in those who tried to hide what was mine. Truth is not approaching quietly anymore. It is roaring. It is breaking chains. It is confronting lies. It is awakening every soul who has been asleep. The baby's light, once smothered by fear, is beginning to glow stronger. That glow is my presence. That glow is my justice. That glow is the beginning of freedom. And to you, my beloved, I say, do not fear the revelation that is coming. It may bring shock. It may bring tears, but it will also bring peace. You will see that I have been protecting this life all along. You will understand that even the lies were turned into pathways for truth to rise. What they meant for harm, I am turning into healing. What they tried to destroy, I am transforming into testimony. Stay close to me, my child. Keep your heart gentle, but strong, for soon you will see the power of my hand expose everything that was buried in darkness. You will see that no human power can erase what heaven has chosen to reveal. The baby's story will no longer be hidden because I, God, have said no more secrets. The truth is already unfolding, one piece at a time, through hearts that can no longer stay silent, through moments that seem coincidental but are divine. And as the truth rises, those who tried to hide it will face themselves, not before men, but before me. For I am the beginning and the end, the one who defends the innocent and brings every hidden thing into the light. The days began to shift quietly, almost unnoticeably at first. What once seemed ordinary started to feel heavy with meaning, as if time itself had slowed down to prepare the heart for revelation. You could sense it, couldn't you, my child? That strange feeling that something was about to surface, something long buried, something that heaven refused to keep hidden any longer. A song arriving at exactly the right time, a name surfacing in thought without warning, or an unexpected emotional shift when something unspoken lingered in the air. At the time, these experiences didn't announce themselves as anything significant, but they left traces behind, subtle impressions that made the heart pause and pay closer attention. In that inner world of reflection, it can feel as though life communicates in quieter ways first, not through certainty or loud declarations, but through intuition, nudging you toward awareness. Dreams sometimes carry that same weight, blending memory and imagination, until it becomes difficult to separate feeling from meaning. A recurring image of innocence, vulnerability, or something needing care may appear not as a literal message, but as a symbol of unresolved emotions or unspoken concerns that the mind is still trying to process. Even ordinary sounds or coincidences can start to feel charged with significance when someone is searching deeply for understanding or truth. In that state, the heart often assigns meaning to patterns, trying to make sense of what feels emotionally unfinished. Over time, what once felt random begins to form a personal narrative of awakening, where clarity is not delivered all at once, but gradually assembled through reflection, honesty, and patience with oneself. The real shift happens not in external signs, but in the willingness to look inward and question what those experiences are pointing toward emotionally. Rather than hidden forces or predetermined revelations, it becomes a journey of perception, learning how hope, fear, and longing can shape the way we interpret the world, and how truth often emerges gently when we finally slow down enough to listen to what we already know inside. For I had already marked this life with purpose, and purpose cannot be silenced. You see, my child, every soul is born with a divine vibration, a frequency that cannot be duplicated or destroyed. This baby's vibration is one of healing, one that brings light to those who have been broken. That is why darkness feared it. That is why lies were created to cover it. But I, your God, do not allow what is meant to heal the world to be buried under deception. I began to awaken the hearts of those connected to this story, calling them back toward truth through dreams, emotions, and spiritual encounters. One woman began to feel a pull in her heart every time she prayed, as though someone unseen was calling her name. Another person, who once agreed to keep quiet, could no longer find peace. Their mind replayed moments over and over. The day they stayed silent, the words they didn't say, the truth they helped hide. My spirit began to move through them like wind through dry branches, shaking everything that was still. Their hands trembled when they remembered. Their chest tightened when they tried to sleep. It was not guilt alone, it was conviction. For once I move within a soul, silence becomes impossible. And through all this, my child, you were being prepared too. You began to notice things, moments that felt too perfect to be chance. People mentioning something and then stopping themselves, the flicker of emotion in someone's eyes, the strange heaviness that filled a room when certain words were spoken. You thought it was just your imagination, but no, it was your spirit awakening to my signals. You are part of this revelation. You were chosen to carry light into this situation, to help bring clarity where confusion once reigned. The truth about this baby is beginning to travel, my child. It moves like wind through cracks, unstoppable, unseen, yet powerful enough to change everything it touches. The same people who once hid it are now being confronted by their own conscience. Secrets no longer feel safe inside them. They feel like fire burning in their bones. They open their mouths to lie again, but the words tremble and die before leaving their lips. My presence is pressing on them, my angels surrounding them, and the truth they buried is now speaking through their own discomfort. Do you see what I am doing, my child? I am not bringing destruction. I am bringing correction. I am not punishing. I am purifying. For I am a God of mercy and truth. I bring light not to shame, but to heal. And when truth emerges, it brings freedom, not only for the innocent, but for the ones who try to hide it too. Because deception is a prison, and only truth can open its doors. As everything continues unfolding, you may notice that your perspective is changing as well. The uncertainty that once consumed your thoughts is slowly being replaced by a stronger sense of clarity and emotional grounding. You are beginning to understand that not every painful revelation arrives to ruin lives. Sometimes truth appears because it is the only path left toward healing, accountability, and genuine peace. The emotions surrounding this situation may still feel intense for a while, but intensity does not last forever. Eventually, what remains is understanding. People will begin seeing each other more clearly, not through assumptions or carefully maintained stories, but through honesty. Some relationships may need time to recover, while others may transform completely because the foundation beneath them has changed. That process can feel uncomfortable, but growth often requires people to face realities they avoided for too long. Through all of this, you are being reminded not to lose yourself inside fear, speculation, or emotional chaos. Stay connected to your sense of peace and discernment. The truth does not need to be forced anymore, because it is already revealing itself naturally. What matters now is how you carry yourself while everything unfolds around you. Choose wisdom over impulsive reactions. Choose calmness over panic. And most importantly, remember that healing rarely arrives in dramatic perfection. Often it begins quietly, through difficult conversations, emotional honesty, and the gradual lifting of burdens people were never meant to carry forever. What is emerging now may feel heavy at first, but in time, it has the potential to bring freedom, understanding, and a future no longer shaped by secrecy or fear. But you will also see forgiveness, growth, and renewal. The truth about this baby will open hearts that were closed, bring families back together, and awaken love where bitterness once lived. Remember this: when I begin something, I finish it. When I speak light into a situation, darkness has no place left to hide. The truth is unfolding even as you read these words. Conversations are being had, secrets are trembling, dreams are becoming clearer. Soon, the revelation will be complete, and when it comes, it will feel both shocking and divine, like thunder followed by peace. So, hold on to hope, my child. Watch with faith-filled eyes, for the truth is not coming, it is already here. It moves through the hearts of those involved, reshaping destiny, lifting the innocent, and healing the broken. The baby, once hidden, is now surrounded by divine protection, and its life will shine like a testimony for generations to come. What was done in darkness will be healed in light, and every secret that tried to suffocate love will now become a story of divine victory. The hour of revelation had come quietly, like the first light before dawn. No thunder, no alarm, just a gentle breaking of silence that had lasted far too long. Those who once felt comfortable behind their walls of deceit began to feel the walls closing in. What they thought would never be known began to surface, one detail after another, guided not by human hands but by my divine will. The truth that was hidden about this baby had begun to breathe again, and once truth takes its first breath, nothing can silence it. The conversations they feared began to happen. Names were mentioned, memories resurfaced, and the very lies they had built their lives upon began to tremble like sand under waves. The one who had sworn to keep quiet found tears streaming down their face, unable to carry the burden any longer. The one who believed the secret was buried forever suddenly felt the weight of conviction pressing on their chest, stealing their sleep and peace. My spirit was moving through them, unrelenting yet merciful, whispering in their conscience, "You must speak now. You must set the truth free." And then, it happened, a moment so simple, yet so sacred that heaven paused to witness. The truth was spoken aloud. A trembling voice, cracked by emotion, finally admitted what was hidden. The air grew heavy as words long buried came rushing out, and though pain filled the room, light followed close behind. The baby, innocent and pure, was finally brought into the light of truth. What was hidden was no longer hidden. What was denied was finally acknowledged. There were tears, my child, tears of sorrow, of shock, of regret, but among them flowed something even more powerful, relief. What comes after revelation is often quieter than people expect. It is not always dramatic apologies or perfect endings. More often, it is a gradual return to emotional honesty, where people begin rebuilding themselves with greater awareness than before. The chaos that once surrounded the situation slowly fades, and in its place comes reflection, humility, and a clearer understanding of what truly matters. The individuals who once avoided difficult conversations start recognizing the value of sincerity. The ones who carried heartbreak begin realizing they survived something that once felt impossible to endure. And through all of it, healing continues unfolding in ways that are not always immediately visible. Some connections may return stronger because truth finally replaced avoidance. Others may remain part of the past, while still leaving behind valuable lessons that shape future relationships in healthier ways. Not every story is meant to continue exactly as it began, but every experience has the power to teach something meaningful if people are willing to learn from it. What matters most now is that the weight of deception no longer controls the future. The confusion has been exposed, the silence has been broken, and the emotions hidden beneath pride have finally been acknowledged. That alone creates space for freedom. Freedom to forgive, freedom to grow, and freedom to stop carrying emotional burdens that were never meant to last forever. Life moves differently once honesty enters it completely. People become softer, wiser, and more careful with the hearts placed in their care. And although the journey toward healing may still take time, there is comfort in knowing that truth has already begun doing its work. What was once hidden no longer has power, and what remains now has the chance to become something far more genuine than before. Forgiveness, my child, is the final step of revelation. For once the truth is spoken, healing must follow. I do not expose hearts to leave them wounded. I reveal them to rebuild them. I restore what lies tried to destroy. And so, one by one, hearts began to soften. Conversations once filled with anger turned into prayers. Regret became repentance. And in the midst of it all, the baby's presence became a symbol of grace, proof that innocence can survive deceit, proof that love can triumph over fear. The moment truth was acknowledged, the atmosphere shifted. You could feel it. The tension lifted, the heaviness dissolved, and peace, fragile at first, began to fill the spaces that secrets once occupied. The very house that held silence for so long now echoed with honesty. People who had avoided each other began to face one another again. The eyes that once turned away now met in understanding. This was not human reconciliation alone. This was my spirit, mending what sin had torn apart. And you, my child, who watched all of this unfold, began to understand something deeper, that truth, no matter how painful, is always sacred. You saw how I used even the darkest decisions to create a path toward light. You felt how I turned guilt into awakening, how I transformed confusion into clarity. What was once a tangle of lies became a story of redemption. The baby's life, once hidden, now stood as a testimony, a living reminder that nothing can stay buried forever when I have spoken no more secrets. But even as healing began, there were hearts still wrestling. Some struggled to accept their mistakes, some feared judgment, others couldn't believe that I could still love them after everything. And to those hearts, I whispered gently, yes, I still love you. Yes, you are forgiven. For my mercy does not end when truth is revealed. It begins there. My forgiveness flows most powerfully where honesty has broken pride. As the days passed, my child, something beautiful began to unfold. The baby, once at the center of secrecy, became the center of light. People began to see the child not as a burden or mistake, but as a blessing. The laughter of the baby filled spaces that once echoed with whispers of fear. That laughter was my promise. That joy will always return after truth. I want you to remember this, my beloved. Revelation is not meant to destroy lives, but to rebuild them in truth. Those who once hid the truth now walk with humility. Those who once suffered in silence now walk in freedom. And the baby, once hidden, now grows under my protection, surrounded by love, destined to carry a story that will remind the world that nothing can stay in darkness forever. Look closely, my child. This is what divine justice looks like. It is not always loud or harsh. Sometimes it comes softly, through tears, through trembling voices, through quiet confessions that change everything. I am not a God of chaos. I am a God of divine order. What I reveal, I redeem. What I expose, I heal. And every soul connected to this baby's truth will now walk a path of transformation. So, breathe deeply and rest your heart. The truth has surfaced. The lies have fallen. The light has taken its rightful place. Those who once carried the burden of hiding the truth also began changing in ways they never expected. At first, many of them struggled to face what had happened, because accountability can feel overwhelming when emotions, pride, and regret collide. But over time, something inside them shifted. Instead of running from guilt, they started learning from it. They began to understand that redemption is not about erasing the past or pretending mistakes never happened. It is about choosing honesty after dishonesty, compassion after selfishness, and growth after denial. The weight they carried slowly transformed into self-awareness, and that awareness opened the door for healing not only within themselves, but within the relationships around them. The child at the center of it all continued to grow surrounded by warmth, and that innocence became a source of unexpected unity. People who once spoke through tension now found themselves speaking with more patience. Walls that had been built out of fear slowly came down. The atmosphere changed because truth, once accepted, no longer had to be feared. It simply became part of the story, no longer hidden, no longer controlling anyone from behind closed doors. And through that process, everyone involved learned something important about human connection. Love cannot survive where deception lives for too long, but honesty, even when painful, creates the possibility for rebuilding. The future ahead no longer felt trapped beneath old secrets. It felt open, steady, and grounded in something more authentic. While scars remained, they no longer defined every interaction. Instead, they served as reminders of how far everyone had come, and how even broken seasons of life can lead people toward greater understanding, forgiveness, and emotional peace. They began to rebuild their lives, one humble step at a time, guided by faith instead of fear. For the moment they chose truth, I chose mercy. The moment they confessed, I covered them with grace. You see, my child, this was never only about a secret. It was about hearts learning to return to love. It was about showing that truth and compassion can exist together. It was about the breaking and the healing that happens when light finally enters the darkest places. The baby's life was the vessel I used, innocent, pure, untouched by deceit, to bring every soul involved back to what matters most: love, honesty, and divine purpose. Now everything feels different, doesn't it? The air feels lighter, the days feel brighter, and the heaviness in your spirit has lifted. That is what truth does. It cleanses. You no longer walk in confusion, you walk in clarity. The people who were once divided by lies now share a single thread of truth connecting them, binding their hearts to one another again through forgiveness. The very thing that once seemed like destruction has become a door to restoration. I want you to understand, my beloved, that my justice is not meant to bring fear, it is meant to bring peace. When I expose what was hidden, I do so with love, because truth is not the end of a story, it is the beginning of healing. I allowed this revelation not to punish, but to free every soul that was trapped in secrecy. And now, I have made everything new. There will still be moments when memories sting, when the past whispers its guilt. But remember this: I, your God, have already washed it clean. What was broken has been mended. What was lost has been found. What was hidden has been revealed and healed. The baby, whose life began in shadows, now lives as a beacon of my grace, a living proof that my love can restore even the most hidden wounds. And you, my child, who have witnessed this journey, have also been transformed. You have learned what it means to trust divine timing. You have seen that when the world hides truth, heaven reveals it. You have felt how my hand moves quietly, patiently, until the right moment comes to bring light to every dark corner. You have become stronger, wiser, and softer all at once. The faith you carry now is deeper than before, not built on comfort, but on conviction. Now, I call you to rest. Let your heart breathe in peace. Let go of every remnant of fear or doubt. Know that you stood in the light when it mattered most. You did not look away when truth was revealed. You faced it with courage, and because of that, blessings are being released over your life. The same light that exposed lies will now guide you toward abundance, purpose, and divine favor. From this day forward, everything connected to this truth will blossom. The baby will grow surrounded by love, carrying my blessing and protection. The ones who were lost in deceit will find their way home to me. And you, my child, will walk in a season of grace so powerful that even the pain of the past will feel like distant rain, washed away by sunlight. I am setting a new path before you, one filled with peace that cannot be shaken, joy that cannot be stolen, and truth that cannot be hidden. The storm has ended, the night has passed, the dawn has come, and my light will never fade again. So, lift your head, my beloved. Look at the miracle I have done. From secrecy to truth, from pain to peace, from shadows to light. The baby's story will live on as a testimony, not of shame, but of divine mercy. And every time you see that child smile, you will remember this truth. What they tried to hide, I used to heal. What they tried to bury, I raised in beauty. I bless you now, my child. The reflection continues by considering how moments of clarity often unfold gradually, revealing their meaning through time rather than in a single instant. What begins as confusion or emotional weight can slowly transform into understanding as people revisit their experiences with greater honesty and perspective. In this process, what once felt overwhelming starts to settle, allowing space for more balanced emotions to emerge. Some individuals may find themselves becoming more open, softening in ways they did not expect, as they begin to acknowledge truths they had previously avoided. Others may struggle with what has been revealed, yet even that struggle becomes part of a larger process of adjustment and acceptance. The idea of innocence in this narrative is represented through the image of a child, not as a mystical sign, but as a reminder of vulnerability, responsibility, and the shared human instinct to protect what is fragile. That image becomes a focal point for reflection, prompting thoughts about care, accountability, and the consequences of secrecy or avoidance. Over time, even those who once resisted uncomfortable truths may begin to recognize the importance of honesty, not as punishment, but as a foundation for rebuilding trust and emotional stability. In this way, the story shifts from tension toward integration, where different perspectives begin to coexist without denying the complexity of what has happened. The emphasis is placed not on blame, but on awareness, growth, and the possibility of moving forward with greater integrity. It is a reminder that even difficult realizations can lead to a deeper sense of humanity when met with patience and a willingness to understand rather than judge too quickly, allowing space for healing to naturally unfold over time. The lies that once sought to suffocate this baby now seemed insignificant against the vastness of divine truth. Every secret, every whisper, every shadow of fear that hovered over this family, and every soul involved, was being transformed into light. My angel circled invisibly, surrounding the child and those who had suffered alongside it, wrapping them in peace and divine protection. Even now, some hearts were still struggling. Some felt guilt so deep that tears came without warning. Others feared that past mistakes could never be forgiven. And I say to them, as I say to you, my child, do not let the weight of yesterday dim the brightness of today. My mercy is boundless. My love is infinite. Every tear shed in regret is met with a hand reaching out, offering comfort, offering forgiveness, offering a new beginning. The family, once divided by secrets, now began to reconnect. Conversations flowed where silence had ruled. Eyes that once avoided each other now met in acknowledgement and understanding. The tension that had gripped homes for months, perhaps years, slowly lifted. My spirit moved quietly among them, guiding every word, every gesture, every thought. I reminded each heart that healing is a journey, not a moment. The baby's life, once hidden, became the central force, drawing hearts back together, teaching the power of love, honesty, and divine purpose. My child, you may wonder why such secrets exist in the first place. Why do humans sometimes hide the truth, even when it is so precious? It is because fear blinds them. Fear whispers that hiding will protect them, that silence will shield them from consequences. But I, God, see beyond fear. I see the purity of the heart beneath mistakes. I see the light that can grow even in shadows. That is why I allowed the truth to unfold slowly, guiding each soul to see the consequences of secrecy, the pain it causes, and the power of redemption that comes from courage and honesty. The baby's impact went far beyond family or friends. The revelation touched communities, spreading quietly but powerfully. Those who heard of the truth felt the presence of divine intervention. They sensed that what was once hidden was now blessed. And in this unfolding, my child, you begin to see the vastness of my work. I do not act only in small, isolated moments. I orchestrate lives, hearts, and events in ways that are interconnected, in ways that bring healing to many, not just one. Every smile of this baby became a testimony. Every innocent gesture, every laugh, every tiny action spoke of protection and divine favor. Those who had doubted, who had feared, who had hidden, began to witness the miracle unfolding. And in their witnessing, they too were transformed. Some prayed quietly, some gave thanks aloud, some shed tears in awe. The baby, a small vessel of pure life, became a bridge, connecting hearts, mending relationships, restoring hope. I want you to know, my child, that your faith and presence in this journey are also part of the miracle. You have been a witness, a vessel, a heart willing to receive divine truth. By standing in the light and acknowledging the unfolding, you have aligned with my will. And because of that, blessings are being released over your life as well. The clarity you now hold, the understanding, the trust in divine timing, these are gifts. Hold on to them, nurture them, and allow them to grow. Even as the story unfolds, new beginnings are being sown. The baby's life, once shrouded in uncertainty, now walks on a path of purpose. Every challenge it may face in the future will be met with protection from me and guidance from angels. The family, and all those connected, will continue to heal, learning that every trial is an opportunity to grow closer to me. And you, my child, are reminded that divine timing and intervention are never late. Even when human eyes cannot see the plan, you may see moments of doubt, small reminders of past fears or regrets. That is natural. But let your heart remember, I am the one who sees the beginning and the end. I am the one who orchestrates every detail. The baby, the family, the hearts once tangled in secrecy, all are under my care. Every step forward is guided. Every blessing is timed perfectly. Every life touched by this story carries a spark of divine light that will continue to grow. Now, my beloved, lift your eyes and your spirit. See beyond what the human heart fears, beyond what the eyes perceive. Witness the beauty of restoration. Witness the joy that follows truth. You do not need to be afraid of what has come into the light. What matters now is not the secrecy that once existed, but the honesty that has finally replaced it. There is freedom in knowing that confusion no longer controls the story. For so long, emotions may have felt tangled in uncertainty, with unanswered questions creating anxiety and emotional exhaustion for everyone involved. But truth has a way of bringing clarity, even when it arrives through difficult conversations or uncomfortable realizations. Once the hidden becomes visible, healing can finally begin, because people are no longer fighting to protect illusions. They can begin facing one another honestly, speaking openly, and rebuilding trust where possible. The emotional energy surrounding the situation shifts completely when truth replaces fear. Instead of carrying the weight of suspicion or silence, people can now focus on understanding, accountability, and genuine care for one another moving forward. This does not mean every wound disappears immediately, but it means healing finally has room to grow. The child becomes a symbol of that hope, a reminder that innocence deserves protection, honesty, and love above everything else. And for those who have carried emotional pain through this experience, there is comfort in realizing that no moment of suffering was unseen. Every tear, every sleepless night, and every silent prayer for clarity mattered. Sometimes life works quietly behind the scenes, guiding situations toward revelation at the exact moment people are finally ready to confront it. Even in periods of uncertainty, there can still be purpose unfolding beneath the surface. That realization alone can bring peace to hearts that have spent far too long living in emotional tension and fear of what might happen next.